Peace and power to everybody that's watching. Hope this video finds you in good health. Make sure you like, comment, all that good stuff. Help the algorithms. I'm going to try to make this quick as possible, but I want you to watch this video the whole way through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a video, about 8 minutes of a Taharka Bay video. And I'm just going to kind of give you my input as I play it. Then I'm going to show you a couple other things. So make sure you watch this the whole way through. All right. Let's go ahead and start. Let's get it.
People enter into these conversations, they have no back on the streets, they have no background in communities, they have no Sinetta with his.
So first, let's just stop right there. He said that people enter the community, and he's going to talk about who he's speaking of a little bit later. He says people enter into the community with no background in the community, no background, whatever. Where is your background? Like, since you want to be the standard of morality and you want to be the example, what is your background in helping people in the community, especially because those who you attack actually have a background in the community? Virtually every organization that you have attacked actually has a background in the community. But what is your background in the community? We'll get into that.
Have crazy behind, at least he have some type of background on the streets of Harlem. You know what I'm saying? Many of these people that come in and claim that they represent our people or speak for our people, regardless of what persuasion of religions or spiritual or social movement that they're with, it seems to me that they pop out of nowhere. And we
well, who else popped out of nowhere though? Taharka Bay popped out of nowhere. He popped out of nowhere 2016 with a YouTube channel. Befriended Sonetta, got his numbers and his status up, affiliated with everybody in HOK who he now exposes, and nobody heard of him before Sonetta. No one has he doesn't have a track record of doing any community work. Not even now, he doesn't do community work unless you're gonna pay him. Oh yeah, if you pay him and buy him a van, then he'll go and take some homeless people to get tested. These are his words. Oh, if the city can give him some money, then he'll pay some kids to clean up abandoned houses. These are his words. Oh, if you give him some money, donate some clothes, then he'll give some clothes to the homeless. Anything that he's going to do is going to require you to pay him first. But he's going after people who put their own money, their hard-earned money, into helping their community. And that's who he wants to drag and disrespect and disrupt the activities of. See, back in the days, you know, it wasn't this easy for our enemies to infiltrate and put propaganda out. There was only a few channels, right? There's not even channels. There's only a few radio stations, televisions, and print media. So actually, it was actually easier to, because they only controlled the whole narrative, except for people on the streets would know better. But now we have a double-edged sword with social media. Yes, people who are doing the work can share that work and they can, mobilize and network. But unfortunately, we're in an age where entertainment is more sexy and more hot than real work. So people could put money behind their YouTube channel, talk about the gossip, and blow up and control the narrative. And that's basically what we're seeing is propaganda, which is the exact way that Taharka Bay himself said he came in the game. But let's continue.
Got this with the Black Panthers. We got all sorts of Black Panthers. I never imagined it was so many Black Panthers variations. I
don't know how you wouldn't have imagined that. There's very many Israelite variations. There's a lot of Moorish variations. There's a lot of any street organization or gang has various variations. So why wouldn't you think that Panthers had the same? Even the original Panthers, there was more than one formation and variation of Panthers even in the 60s. So why wouldn't you think that? I mean, that's cool though. Let's continue.
Never imagined that. I seen one last week. They come out of Minnesota. I mean, the information is all over the place. They talking about that the
Hold on. So I mean, I just want you to notice right off the rip, he's attacking different black organizations, starting with the Panthers. Right off the rip. And also, he still have yet to really address the allegations or why he's on the sex offense registry. He has yet to really address that, except for just, oh, it's doctored, but not showing you how it's doctored. Like, you could actually look up the case number yourself and you're going to see the exact same thing. But let's continue.
5-point plan or 10-point plan, whatever plan it is for the Black Panther, that it was started by Garvey.
So here he is, like he could rip on these organizations, but he doesn't even know what he's talking about. 5-point or 10, it's a 10-point plan. Like, everyone knows that, even if you know nothing about the Panthers, you know that much. Anyone knows that much. So obviously we need to check and balance who this dude is. We need to do some checking and balancing on this dude, because he doesn't even know something as simple. Yet he's a Grand Sheik, well studied, has a platform where he disseminates information, so called, but he doesn't know if the Black Panther program is a 10-point program or a 5-point program. That's suspect. Let's go ahead.
I said, good goodness gracious, started by Garvey. You know what I'm saying? It's like many people that fly the red, black, and green don't even understand what Garvey stood for. In other words, you don't see a group of nurses together. Garvey had professional nurses rocking with him. You know what I'm saying? Okay. He had publishers. He had writers. He had, okay. I mean, he had some educated people with him. But these people just run and screaming Black Power, F the white man, and F the cracker. And
see, I really don't know what that babble is about. I don't know what he's trying to imply. Like, because Garvey had nurses and professional publishers or whatnot, what does that have to do with people yelling Black Power? Now, first, let's address this. Because this is something that our enemy does all the time. What they do is they associate Black Panthers with fuck whitey, fuck the police, we hate white people, this and that. That's not even the case. Never has been the case. There may be some individuals who will speak like that, but that's not the agenda. That's not in the program. That has nothing to do with the work. In fact, most of the work that Panthers do and have always done since the 60s is not sexy, sensationalized work. It's community work. Some of the best legacies of the original Panther Party is what? They implemented a program that ended called the free lunch program, which now is reduced in free lunch in schools all over the country now. The SNAP or EBT food stamps, that comes from the Black Panther Party. Several hospitals and clinics all over the country were started by the Black Panther Party. So I know it's sensationalized and you see the guns and the people marching and all that kind of stuff, but that's not really the typical day of a Panther. The typical day of a Panther is filled with doing things that you would see in the social work community. That's what it is. It's meetings, it's educating. It's given to the community in whatever kind of way. It could be clothes drives. It could be a book or a backpack drive at the beginning of the school year. It could be just setting up and making sure that the elders are okay. It could be tutoring and mentoring. This is what Panthers do for real, for real. All that other stuff is sensationalized. It gets attention, and that's the only thing that people really report on, especially when it's those who want to undermine the work. I'm talking about like from the mainstream. They'll show a clip of somebody saying, fuck Whitey and this and that, but that's not even a thing for real. Not like that. It's really not. It's not a sentiment that is like instructed in any type of manual from any legitimate organization, any legitimate Panther formation. It's not. But what he's doing is he's basically trying to imply that that to be a Garveyite, you can't be a Panther, you can't be militant or whatever the case may be, or that Panther's whole agenda is fuck whitey, black power. And he says black power as if black power is bad. Black power means to control what's in the best interest, no, to define, develop, and defend what's in the best interest of black people. That's what black power means according to the manual as written by Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad. To define, develop, and defend what's in the best interest. So define what's in the best interest. Okay, education's in the best interest. Well, we just define that. Now develop that. Okay, we're going to develop a tutoring institution. Now defend that. Make sure that that continues to rock. Whether you're defending it monetarily, whether you're defending it literally, whether you're defending it against propaganda. That's what black power means. It doesn't mean that we hate anyone. That's not what it means. It means that we need to empower ourselves, and we're going to do what's necessary to do that. Doesn't mean grabbing a gun. It means get your money up, get your community up. Make sure the youth are guided properly. Make sure, the education and that we're politically on code when we need to be. That's what black power is. Define, develop, and defend what's in the best interest of black people. Anyway, let me continue.
And all this crazy stuff, but then say they represent Garvey. Like, many people must never even pay attention to Garvey, the ones that scream this stuff. And so it's a group that is formulating at this point, and you can tell that they are so miseducated as it relates to liberation or revolution.
Now, first of all, no one is going to take any advice or instruction on liberation or revolution from a person who only slanders everything that is going on in the black community that could be positive for our people. That's number one. Number two, yes, there are some individuals or organizations that really don't know what they're talking about and aren't really legit. That happens, across the board. So yeah, there are some cats like that. In fact, you had a group of people who fit that exact description. I'm talking about that Cece and that Charles, who also had a soliciting to a minor on his record, which is why he's no longer in the new Black Panther Party and had to join or create a new formation. And there's a lot of questionable stuff about the rest of them, but we're not going to get into that. So the point is, the same time he shades people for not being legitimate, he has those same people on his show to basically legitimize what he's saying because he wants to slander the community. This is how he operates, in case you haven't noticed. But what he's doing right now is just like a hit piece on several individuals, including Sonetta and Nepal, which we're going to get to that in a minute. Hold up.
That means the revolution philosophy, even Pan-Africanism. Now, listen, I'm a Moorish American Muslim to the bone. You know what I'm saying? However, Pan-Africanism and Moorish science really is interwoven into each other.
Explain how that is the case. I'm not saying that it can't be. I'm saying, but you should be teaching that. If, you're a Grand Sheik, expound on that. Expound how what you're doing as a representative and a leader, so-called, of the Moorish community, what are you doing that would show and prove the intertwining of Pan-Africanism with Moorish science? I'm just saying. Like for what you're saying, be an example of that. Don't just throw a bunch of fancy things out there to imply certain things, but really your agenda is to be a hit piece against anything that could be productive for our people. You see, back in the day, remember, counterintelligence. The objective was to neutralize the activities of black nationalism, amongst other things. And that's basically what he's doing. Because these organizations, these grassroots organizations, typically operate with very or little funding and really rely on the community to support them, because you have people with real life jobs, children, family, and other things going on in their life that they have to take time away from that and use their own funds to fund different things they do. Okay, we're going to do a school supply drive for the kids before the school year starts. Where do you think that money's coming from? It's coming from those in that group if the community isn't also contributing to help support that with resources. But when you have people, like there's already the mainstream, right? You already know what the mainstream's going to say about anything Panther related or anything, any black grassroots organization. They're not going to give them any shine so that they can get resources. They're going to undermine them. And now we have individuals like this doing the same thing, except for this is almost more effective because it's coming from our own. That's masquerading as one of our own. That's masquerading like they have good intentions for our people, but they're really just discouraging people from supporting work that could be really expounded upon in the communities. And since you're not doing anything in your own community, what makes you the standard or the authority on how people should operate?
It's a philosophy. The name don't really mean nothing. But back to my point. These people come out of nowhere. There is no checks and balances.
Where
in the world is the checks and balances?
That's a good question.
Come into our community?
That's a good question.
Where is it?
That's a good question.
In the Moorish community, we had the guy Shalimar Bey. He came in talking about that he was a consular for the Moorish consular. In fact, nobody knew him. He didn't have no elders that taught him. He quickly connected with Taj.
Choke on that hypocrisy. Who are your elders? Who taught you? Who validates you? Show me some Moors that really rock with you. There are none. Like you got to be wary of someone who claims some type of identity or organization, but no one else accepts them or validates them or rocks with them. If somebody comes up saying they're a Panther, but other Panthers are saying, no, that's not a Panther. We don't trust them. We don't rock with them. And they can't produce any receipts of their legitimacy, you should be leery about them. If somebody says they're a Moor, yet the only validating properties that they've had to show is people who have been kicked out of the temple for sexual crimes. If that's who your master teacher is, and that's the one who made you a Grand Sheik, yeah, that's a problem. Because that person didn't even have the authority to do that. That's how you came in the game. So when we're talking about checks and balances and who they come through, well, we need to examine yours as well. And we're going to do a little bit more of that in a minute. Make sure y'all watch this the whole way through. You don't want to miss the end. And then
from Taj Tariq Bey, he began to formulate this false notion of a consular court.
Now listen. First of all, Taj Tariq Bey is someone who he used to try to rock with. There's interviews on his channel with dude. But you see what typically happens is he'll try to rock with people. Then at some point they really peep game of who he is by his actions. And then they leave him alone. Or he scams them and they expose him. So then he retaliates by then calling them the scammers and quote unquote exposing them. And because in a lot of cases he has a bigger platform, it's able to fly. But that's pretty much his MO.
Reading off a script and everything. And so I exposed this guy because at the end of the day, the Hebrew Israelite community, as well as the Moorish community, is a grassroots community. These people just don't pop up. See, with this day of the internet, it allows people to pop up. But I'm employing each and every one of us that have a social or religious organization to call people on it. Like, where you come from? Who are you?
Exactly. Who are you? We're going to find out who you are.
People are scared to stir the pot.
Stir the pot. Exactly.
These people. And so the point that I'm making is, one of the first contacts that Nepal had out of nowhere.
No, he said Nepal came from out of nowhere.
She was in a camp, and
but she was in a camp.
Judah was.
So if she was in a camp, she didn't come out of nowhere. Maybe she didn't have a social media presence then, because maybe she was really in a camp, doing what people do in camps, studying and learning, living how they teach, living their truth. So obviously she didn't just come out of nowhere. You just said that out your own mouth. The only person who really came out of nowhere was you. You're the one that popped up in 2016 fresh off of a bunch of charges that should have sent you back to prison and started a platform that only is used to downgrade, degrade, disrupt in a misinformation campaign that you yourself said started with propaganda against Sonetta. So the same person who put you on is the same person that you attack. The same people who you used to rock with are the same people you now attack. But you don't have any receipts for anything that you've done to help the community. Unlike most of the people that you attack. Yeah, you want to talk about checks and balances? We're going to check.
Would tell us the true story.
And really, what I'm interested to know is what about Nepal makes him so mad at her that he wants to attack her all the time? What is she out there doing in the community that's so despicable that he wants to expose everything from naked photos and videos that he illegally obtained and just attack her? Has anyone said that she scammed them, lied to them, deceived them, did them wrong? And then let's compare who he attacks and why he attacks them. What I'm going to show you in a little bit.
Jumping around with it right now, but she comes out, and the next thing everybody get familiar with her from Sonetta. But the weird thing, and I keep telling everybody, the weird thing about that is that it seems to me that all questionable people come through Sonetta TV. Have some
including
they're
you.
not paying me, but hey,
right.
It's good.
Now he has to distract and cap a little bit because he just realized what he just said.
But all questionable people on the social media front seems to come through Sonetta TV.
Well, you came from Sonetta TV. You might not have been a part of it. See, he might not have been a part of Sonetta TV, but that's how people know him, because he would pop up on 125th Street when people were building. That's what you call infiltration. That's the only reason we know him, because he would pop up on Sonetta TV to Sonetta TV. It's almost like he was sent to destroy Sonetta TV. Now let's keep it real about Sonetta. Does he have some shenanigans? Yeah, we all do. Does he have some things I disagree with? Yes. Some things I really disagree with. However, I gotta have respect for Sonetta because he put in his work. He put in his work under Khalid as a Panther. He put in his work disseminating information to our people that was very necessary when he wasn't getting paid, when he didn't have a YouTube. Back when VHSs and VCRs was a thing, he was recording different master teachers and putting that information out. So some people say, oh, he was bootlegging this, that. No, he recorded a lot of that. He was on the streets where it took money. It took money for him to do these things, to print up these materials when he was showing us our history with the bullhorn back in the day before he really got on YouTube. He was putting that work in. So if he found a way to monetize that, good for him. And if he wants to be goofy sometimes and have his little shenanigans, he has that right. Because what he's doing is not destructive to the community. What he's doing is educating people all over the world and giving people a voice and a platform. Even if some of those individuals who he gave a voice to turned out not to really be of high standards, he still gave people a voice. He still was a way that people would connect to our history. He put on epic debates where people could intellectualize their own different identities and schools of thought. And they were entertaining. And they were educational at the end of the day. And they even helped Taharka Bay because that's how we know him. But see, he wants Sonetta's spot. That's the truth of it. He wants to be the man. In order to do that, he's willing to tear down. We can call Sonetta TV and House of Consciousness really an institution. It's a digital institution for edutainment. That's education and entertainment. He wants to tear that down along with anything else. And then he wants to imply that the only solution to us as a people is going to come through him. But he hasn't produced anything. He hasn't even produced the Morris Village that he raised money for 6 years ago. and counting. But he wants people to not join organizations, not support institutions, so they could watch him on YouTube and give him money to do things that he's never going to do. And he doesn't have a background of doing anything in the communities. Because if he truly did, he wouldn't attack all these different organizations just because he doesn't agree. Because he would understand how challenging the work is. That's why people who don't even like each other in the real community activism field, they still respect each other and will work together, because there's not enough people doing this work to be bickering over small things. And when you realize how difficult and challenging it could be with very little support, then you have no choice but to come together. And that's what makes people like him so detrimental. Because any potential support, he's trying to undermine or disrupt. So people who might be coming to this consciousness or looking for direction or looking for things to support or people to network with and things to people to build with, if they see somebody like him, they're going to stay away from all of those different organizations or different ways that they could be contributing to the community, or they're not going to be supporting those who are doing the work because he's slandering them. And then he presents himself as the only option. So give all your money to him so he could do these things. But I'm going to tell you like this. If somebody doesn't have a record of doing things in the community already before they hit social media, those are the ones you shouldn't be listening to. If someone can only do something for their community if they get paid, those are the ones you shouldn't be listening to. See, on the mainstream level, they have people who do the biddings of white supremacy, who are shills, who are selected to represent us. People like Al Sharpton and all those guys, I don't have to say the names. But even in this conscious community, even on these smaller platforms in the social media, we have people who do the same thing, who do the bidding of their masters, which is a direct conflict of interest to what we're trying to do. And that's exactly what Morris World TV has been since its inception.
None of them build their own platform from the ground up.
Including you.
None of them.
Including you.
None of them. You know, that's a brother too. Y'all know y'all know the Spanish speaking Asiatics. They had them loud little mufflers and them little European. That's a brother with an Xfinity. I said Xfinity, the Infinity with that little loud muffler. What the mufflers called? Why they want them? Why like the mufflers, man? But anyway, you know,
showing his disdain for Spanish speaking individuals again.
You know what I mean? Where are they? Where are they?
Yeah, well, I might as well just say this too. So that I'm gonna show you this receipt later, but you know, of course, you already know he's on the sex. He was a registered sex offender in 2016. This came out because in 2016 he beat up a Mexican dude, supposedly for calling his sister a bitch, but that's not why he really did it. This is what he told people so he could look like some kind of defender of black women. But we're gonna see what really he does with black women in a minute. So he said that basically a Mexican dude called his sister the B word, so he punched him in the face for that. But that's not really what happened, according to the police report. What really happened is he was trying to leave after he did try to check him for saying that, but then he was trying to leave after calling him all kind of Mexican pieces of shit. Go back to your country, you know that MAGA type rhetoric that he was spilling. So dude start recording him, probably to put him on the internet. Like, look at this piece of shit. And he told him to quit recording. He went to his truck. Dude followed him out with his truck, still recording. He said, stop recording. I'm going to punch you, blah, blah, blah. And he punched him. So it wasn't, he was ready to leave. So it wasn't because he called the sister a bitch that he punched him. It was because he was about to be exposed, but later for that. But that's just a reference because that is the case in which he is checked on the sex offender registry. We'll show you that in a minute.
Unbelievable to me that we allow people come into this digital community where there is no checks and balances.
Exactly. I agree.
If somebody come into your section in your neighborhood, you know what I mean, and nobody recognized them, nobody's seen them before, there is no way they will be able to set up shop. Like, you can't even come in a neighborhood and set up a lemonade stand if don't nobody know you. But here in this digital community, We have people that just pop up at any given moment. And we have people with YouTube channels that endorse them to give them some validation. And then the next time
I mean, like, just think about what he's saying. People come into this digital world doing nefarious things against the people. That's exactly what he does. And then he links up with other YouTubers that will validate his message. People who need him. Like that Wabu Shabazz dude who gave him that softball interview. Or unfortunately, Jeremiah Judah, someone who I had respect for. You know what I'm saying? Because he used to call into my show and he used to build and say some good, intelligent things that made sense. But he also was a clout chaser. So I'm not going to get in on him because, you know what I'm saying, I don't really have anything against him. But what I'm saying is the people who he has to resort to these days to validate him, it's pretty sad.
they got a march or something like that, the next time they got a march or anything going on like that, they participate in the march. Man, that's crazy. You know, this is why we are so vulnerable as a people. Because we trust anybody, we let anybody come through. We don't check, we don't do no checks and balances. It's like y'all may have seen some of the presentation where now some of the stuff is doctored where they talked about, you know what I mean?
So what he's saying right here, without saying it, he's talking about the sex offense registry that he's on, or that he was on in 2016. He's saying it was doctored. He hasn't shown why it's doctored, how it's doctored. He hasn't showed up the original document because what we have shown has been an original document. He could pull it up himself, or any of you could pull it up, and it's going to say the same exact thing. But he's not going to say that. But he's just implying that anything that anyone says against him is just not legitimate, even though it's straight receipts. And we got more receipts. Watch this whole video.
Who I was before I became a Moorish American, whether it was street, whether it was wild, whether it was aggressive, whatever the case may be. But at least you do have something to go off.
Yeah,
you know
we got something to go off.
These people, you have nothing to go off. I bet you can't nobody in here tell me right now Nepal Shaddai real name.
Okay, first of all, why is that important? Her name. Why is her name so important? But somebody's going to answer the question, I think, if that's her real name. But what I'm saying is, like, why is that important? Why is her background critical? She's not out there teaching. She's not out there telling people to follow her. She's not out there asking people for money. She's not out there saying, you know what I'm saying, making herself some type of beacon of morality or a beacon of a standard or someone to follow. So why is that important? These are the questions that we should be asking people like you. And we have answers for those questions. Who were you? Who are you? What's your background? What are you about? What's your background and what are you doing now? And we can add it up. And it doesn't add up very well for you. Because you came in social media on propaganda, as you said yourself, in 2016, which happens to be the same year that you caught several cases, including the one that has you on the sex offense registry. And so many other things on your record that should have landed you in prison that didn't. Is it a coincidence that your uncle's a cop? Is it a coincidence that you said yourself, counterintelligence agents don't get paid that much, but they're allowed to commit fraudulent acts in the community? We're going to look at some of your fraudulent acts in a minute. Look, if you really can't wait, then just fast forward a little bit. But we got more receipts. Shout out to all the content creators out there that's sharing this type of stuff too.
I bet you can't. I bet you can't. Nobody in here tell me that. You know why? Because there's an effort being implemented to keep that from you. And why? Because
I don't know enough about Nepal to really, I'm trying to defend her the way, I'm not really trying to defend her. I don't really know enough about her. I just don't know why it's so important that we need her background. That's all I'm wondering. Why? Why would there be an effort to suppress who she is? But all that shit just backfires because you'll see.
If you find out the name, you will find out the real person. You will find out the character that goes with the person. And not only will you find out the character that goes with the person, you will find out the same thing that these European call a profile. Somebody say Stacy Willis. Somebody look up Stacy
So
Willis
that quick,
in
somebody knew her name. So
Sedona,
that means that she
Arizona. Come
registers.
on.
That means that
Anybody got that?
obviously
Send the information
she
to
does have a
taharkabay
background
at
that she wasn't hiding.
gmail.com. Stacy Willis. I'm from Sedona, Arizona. Send the information to taharkabay at gmail.com. I'll do the checks and balances.
See, now what he wants to do is he wants to prod into her past so he can find some dirt that he could quote unquote expose. But what is the point? She hasn't been a detriment to the community as far as I know. But now if we prod and check and do the same check and balance thing that you're talking about with you, it's ugly. Because first things first, in 2016, you were on the sex offender registry. And this is a fact.
If you scared, I do it and I call it out. And I call it out. I don't care. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? Get mad? Mad. Get mad. Because the digital community is controlling the vibration of the path that we are headed to.
See, so if that's the case, if the digital community, and yes, the digital community is very influential on how we are able to network and push an agenda. So it only would make sense that there would be enemies that would also use the digital community as a way to dissuade us, discourage us, disrupt us on our path. And if that's the case, we have to check what he is doing. And, is that what he's doing? I mean, everything he does is negative against our people. He doesn't teach anything. He doesn't show you like, hey, here's some things that we could be doing. Hey, here's what's going on in my community that we can remedy. Hey, here's some things that we can do to really get on a better platform and really start, building within our community. He's not doing any of that. What he's doing is saying, don't mess with them. Don't mess with them. They're fake. They're scammers. They're agents, this and that. But yet anything that he exposes, quote unquote, exposes about anyone else doesn't even measure to the things that he's done himself. Not just the damage digitally he tries to do to our community, but the damage he has done to his own community far outweighs anything that he even pontificated on what he's going to do for his community. Because he ain't did a damn thing. But even the ideas of grandeur that he says he's going to do to help pay a couple kids $50 to clean up here and there, or a coat drive here and there that he said he would do if you support him monetarily, even those things don't even begin to compare to the disgusting acts that he has committed time after time. Let's go.
The digital community is in control right now. The digital community. In other words, when we look at hip hop, it's the digital community that controls what is popular and what is not. And in our social organization, it's the digital community that makes Black Lives Matter popular, that makes Until Freedom popular, that makes any other social organization popular. It's the digital community. And so if these people are going to enter into infiltrate, guess what? Guess what?
What?
They're going to infiltrate through the digital community. And everyone who came to take something from our people from the digital perspective came through Sidnetta TV. Tell me that I'm wrong.
Including you. You came through Sidnetta. If they are going to infiltrate the digital community, would they use Sidnetta to infiltrate the digital community? What does Sidnetta put on his channel? He might put some things that you might not be interested in. It's a lot of religious debates or whatnot. I'm kind of past that personally. But is that a detriment to the community? Having people give you history lessons, is that a detriment? Highlighting the good works of people in our community and our ancestors of the past, is that a detriment to the community? No, it's preserving our history if nothing else. But what about what you're doing? What's your legacy? Your legacy is trying to destroy our community. That's it. You're not building anything. Now, let's start off with this. Let me see here. Let's get back to just to set the tone, just so we won't forget that this dude, this is that dude right here. So this is the document that he's been trying to say is doctored. So, we redacted some of it so it's not personal information, but there is the case number right there, right? That's the case number. So if you were able to find this document by that case number, this is what's going to come up. And you'll see it hasn't been doctored. He hasn't even showed you how it's been doctored. So this is definitely him. And look, what do we have right here? If you can't see it, okay, hold up. I got you. If you can't see it, let's blow up that particular spot right there. Right? Stop that. Let's share. Bam. That's the part that was. Now you can see that, right? It says registered / that means and or lifetime sex offender. So in 2016, when he caught that case for beating up the Mexican dude, punching the Mexican dude, not for calling the sister a bitch, but before recording him when he was trying to leave, because he was going to leave. So he wasn't going to punch him. He wasn't going to do any retaliation. And that's okay. Like, you're not required to punch a stranger in the face in a public store because they called a sister a bitch. You're not required to do that. You checked them. That was enough. That's cool. But that ain't why you punched them. So quit capping. But this right here is a why. He checked why, as in yes. Or they checked yes. He signed this document, so he acknowledged that this is all said, all true. He's a registered sex offender. Or at least he was in 2016. Now, there's very many ways that he could have got off. There's a few ways. He might have just stopped registering, for one. Two, maybe it expired because it happened long enough ago to where in 2016 he was still registered, but now he's not. But make him prove this is doctored. Matter of fact, prove it to yourself if you think it's doctored. Find this document. You can find it. It's public records. And you'll see for yourself. But we're not even done. Let's I hate to do this, but we got to do this. What we're going to do here, we're going to show. So what are we going to show? How are we going to do this one? We're going to do entire screen on this one, right? And then we're going to do it like that. So hopefully it's showing up, right? Yeah. So here we go. Let's go through this. So, I redacted stuff, so it's, not too much personal information, but here's the name, right? That's the person who was filing it. This is the case number. Now let's just go down through. Let's look at it. Domestic violence, check. This is a petition for protection, right? So I want relief for myself and minor child. The respondent committed the following acts of abuse. That would be Toronto. These are the following acts that he committed: kicking, punching, shoving, and mental injury of a child. Mental injury of a child. That means you're mentally abusing. Oh, it gets worse. So here's what it says. It's kind of hard to read because, it's in cursive and in this person's handwriting. So here we go. On January 21st, 2002, Mr. Johnson had my children while I went away for the weekend. When I went to his apartment to pick my sons up, we began to argue regarding some videotapes that I had let him borrow. Mr. Johnson stated that if I didn't get my sons and leave, he would hit me in front of them. When I turned to get my youngest son's jacket, he punched me in the face. I fell. Upon my falling, he punched me again, kicked me, and proceeded to drag me out of his apartment. This is on the protection order from one of his exes. Punching, kicking, dragging, all this in front of children. I'm not going to show, I could show you everybody that's on the petition and, some of these children on there as young as 11 months, 11 years. Yeah, it's disgusting. Let's continue. Here's another one. Case number, blah. There we go. Redact, but you know who this is. Those are the people. So Birthdays, those are the children. At that time would have only been, 5, 6, well, one of them like 3. Look at that, 4 and 3-year olds that he's subjecting to this type of abuse. Abuse occurred for over a year or a year ago. A year. Here we go. This is him. Hold on. Where we at? Okay, we already got that. Now let's get to this one. Here we go. So here's what he did. This one. This is a whole different person, by the way. Let me get away from that. Threats of violence, blah, blah, blah. Check this out. The respondent entered my home against my will with a key that he was not supposed to have. So he's just going into women's houses. Now, I mean, it makes you kind of wonder what that sex offense registry was all about. But anyway, he used the key against her will to enter the home. I asked him to leave, which he, what did I say? Refused. He said he wasn't going anywhere and he would take my son, our son, if I keep mouthing. He is aware that I had a previous ex parte, which is the protection order, which couldn't be served due to him going to another county. So yes, there was some protection orders that ended up expiring or being rejected, whatever, because they couldn't find him to serve it to him. Because he left the county, of course, because he didn't, Anyway, so the respondent had threatened me, kicked my door in, tried to choke me, tried to take my son against my will in the past. And I'm scared. It's supposed to be I am scared that if he keeps coming around, he will try something worse. Okay. And then these are the other people that were put on the protection order. I believe those are his kids and her. And actually one of those are her kids, which would have been, at that time, I guess, 6 or 7, I guess, because I think this was 2002, maybe 2005. But anyway, let's continue. What else? Here's another one. Same respondent as the last time, I think. The respondent is very mental and emotionally abusive. He curses and cusses me out in front of my children. He says he doesn't have to go or leave my house or my home. He is an abusive alcoholic who is in denial and has become violent with me, my property, in front of my children. Then say it's nothing I can do to make him stop or leave. This is why I believe it is unsafe and unhealthy for this to continue in front of my 11-year-old and 3-year-old. Checks and balances, right? Checks and balances. This is the type of behavior that we need to have checks and balances for, right? Now, tell me someone who's done worse out of all the people he exposes on his channel. Does he even charge them for anything worse than what we're seeing right now? This is a disgusting individual. And look, I'm not one that would use someone's record against them because people can change. But what I'm saying is this is disgusting to the point to where you don't have the right to be a voice of reason and morality for our people. And the fact that you have such disgusting things on your record, and this is just some of the stuff, the fact that you have such a lengthy record that you didn't get in trouble for, that smells like an agent. But if we're going to check people's backgrounds, start with your own. So we see that you're abusive. We see that you were that you were a registered sex offender. We see that you abuse not just women, but children, plural for both. But we don't see that you have something that you can say, hey, I'm doing some work in the community. You don't have it in the past. You don't have it now. Yeah, this is you, man. What else? Same person, another one. He choked me in May of 2004. He kicked in my door in 2005. He has hit me in 2003 and 2004. He has threatened me every chance he was drunk. So he gets drunk and beats women and children. This is on there. Doesn't want to. Okay, we're not gonna keep that there. Let's see what else we got. What else? Here we go. I think is this the same or a different person? I don't know. Okay. So this is two different women. This is, identifying remark or tattoos and scars. I guess he has a tattoo on both arms, a dog on one and a gun on the other. Let's see. Couple more. Let's just go straight to. I'm just showing you this, man. Y'all need to see this. Y'all need to see this, and then you could decide for yourself if this is the person that you want to take, instruction from. You should decide if this is if this person is better for the community than the people who he says that you should stay away from. Umar Johnson has all kind of shenanigans. I've met him a few times. He was a cool person in person. I don't agree with everything, but hey, maybe he's taking a little bit long to get that school together, but he is a published author. He does disseminate information that is good. He does have a record of doing good in the community. And if Taharka wants to use the fact that he hasn't opened his school yet, well, he has been talking about this Moorish village and raising money for the Moorish village since 2016, 2017 at least. So I'm just saying, is Dr. Umar a detriment to the community, or is this person? And before you answer that, check it out. Here we go. These are the things that apply for this, things that he has done: punching, shoving, threats of violence, and other. Over the past 3 years, he has verbally, mentally, and physically abused me. Let's read that again. I think this is the one that's deceased now, the one that he went to the funeral and act like he really gave a damn about, and he's mad at people for bringing her up on their live streams. Yet this is what he did to her. Like, he's mad at people for using her picture or speaking on her, but he, according to her, has been verbally, mentally, and physically abusive. Last night, while drunk or drinking, he threw dirty, soiled objects in my face several times. This morning, 3/13/03, threw soiled baby wipes in my face. Soiled baby wipes. He threw soiled baby wipes in the mother of his children's face. He punched me with his fist on the left side of my face. So that means he hit her with a right hook. Remember when he was saying, I just be like, get off me. It looked like a right hook, right? Well, that's where a right hook would land, on the left side of someone's face. He threatens me, says he will bust my house and car windows, slice my tires, try to get me back for calling police or putting him out. Intimidation, which is why a couple of them got dropped, because he probably intimidated her from going to court. Curses around my 2 children. Now, he doesn't curse on Moorish World TV because he's such an upright Moor, but he'll cuss and beat up women in front of children. Okay. I'm just saying, like, does that make sense? Curse around my children, my 2 children. One is his 16-month-old son. So you wonder, remember when I was like, I wonder what these children, his kids, have seen and been traumatized by that makes them act the way that they do, where they're popping pills at such an early age, smoking weed, and getting in fights and abusing women themselves. Well, now we know. Says that he would hurt me if he was like he was in the past, a woman beater. Obviously, he was, he has in the past kicked my door in, tried to kick my television in, kicked a hole in the wall of my house, hit my child. So remember, he does have some child abuse on there. So he hit her child, which he claims was a mistake, but he drinks a lot every night. And I don't want him to, it's this hard to read, to be in my, and I don't want him to beat me in front of my children or threaten me, because he has been in jail several times in the past for hitting a female, and I am terrified at time that he will really hurt me like he has. This is this dude right here, throwing soiled baby wipes in women's face, punching them in the face, kicking them, shoving them, dragging them, hitting their kids, kicking their door in, entering their house without permission, destroying their property. This is the dude that's telling you that everyone else in the community is bad news and you should stay away from them. This is the dude that's saying that we need to have checks and balances. Like there's a reason why his whole channel is about exposing people. Of course, because he's the agent, but also because he wants to put the attention on everyone else so they won't see what he's really about, because this is what he's really about. This is the only past that we know of him. See, you can't point to receipts. He can't point to receipts of things that he's done in the community to help the community. But this is his resume. His resume is of being, he wants to tell people how to raise their children, but this is what he does. He's talking about building a better tomorrow, but this is what he subjected his children to and other people's children to. Make that make sense. I seen a stream that he was saying something like we got to do better than just teaching our kids to own a dispensary. Well, a dispensary is a legitimate business. Like, you're an alcoholic drunk who beats women and children, and taught your children to do the same, because that's what both of them have been charged for, amongst other things, while they're smoking on live streams, popping pills. But you're going to be the person who's able to tell people how they should raise their children, how they should interact socially. No receipts. No background of doing good work. But think about the people who he has attacked. Dr. Inky has receipts for being a businessman, educated, and for helping people in regards to health. Sonetta has a platform that has reached millions all over the globe. There's literal testimonies of people saying that because of Sonetta TV, they start learning about their history and start to empower themselves. Like, all the people that he attacks actually have receipts in the streets, even Crystal Muhammad. And I don't know her or anything like that, but say what you want about her. But I mean, at least she does have some type of history of doing work in the community. Grandmaster Jay, whatever you want to say about him, what he did July 4th when he went to Stone Mountain with 1,000 other black men and women, if nothing else, that inspired people to know that we don't have to stand and wait for people to kill us, because that's why they were there, because the KKK was threatening to kill people on July 4th. So they pulled up saying, you go ahead and start and we'll start with you. If nothing else. I don't know what Nepal's doing that's worse than this. I don't know what OC the Great is doing that's worse than this. But just note that not only does he have no receipts for doing any work in the community, not only does the people who he tries to expose have more receipts doing things in the community than he does, but look how disgusting his record is. And look at those who are trying to back him now. What receipts do they have? You have one person, that Charles dude, who, amongst other things, like trying to drug women to have sex with them, also was charged with soliciting a minor. That was out of his own words. Then you have that Wabu Shabazz dude, who's really just a clout chaser, who agreed to go on his show because he knew that might help his numbers. That's why he didn't ask him anything about the sex offense charges or anything like that. And this is also why anyone who will put a message that's not in full support of Taharka on his live stream or on his channel, it will get deleted, because he wants to control the narrative to make people think that everyone is in support of him, but that's not the case. Anyway, I just wanted to show y'all this. Make sure you check out, make sure if you're a content creator, get this out. I believe Sonetta said that he's going to be speaking on this a little bit later himself. So shout out to Sonetta. Shout out to the Research Ninja. Shout out to DSP. Shout out to those who've been supporting and who's also been helping to signal boost this message. Because in order to neutralize those that are detriment to the community, we have to render them useless. Then that means our enemies can't use them against us, and it will be irrelevant. That's how you neutralize people who are all about trying to be a detriment to our community. That's the power that we have with social media. The same way there's a propaganda machine to attack us, well, now these days we have a response. See, before, when it was broadcast on the radio, the television, print media, we didn't have a way to respond except for just on the ground. Which remarkably people like Garvey and others were able to do a lot without social media. But now we have a way to respond in real time and with a multitude of decentralized platforms that collectively we can not only withstand the flood of propaganda, but we can overcome it. Be one. Black Power. Peace.